Trust can take so many years to build, but in a matter of seconds, it can be lost. On today's episode, we're going to go over numerous ways to lose trust with a specific client. We prospect some of these customers, some of these shippers for, months, years in some scenarios, right? We start doing business with them. We start, continuing to build that trust with some of these clients. What are some of the ways that we actually lose trust?
Yeah, well, you definitely don't have trust off the bat, especially with a cold call in logistics when they're getting calls constantly. So you said it at the start, but like trust takes so much time to build up, but it can so easily be lost. And there's a number of things that you can do. And I would start off by first saying, like, you mislead or lie to a client or prospect early on, your trust is gone. Yeah. But if you also have that same reputation down the road, let's say you've been working with them for years, and you start to get this reputation of misleading them or lying or cutting corners, that trust is gone, and you are very easily replaced in this industry.
Yeah, we were talking about a little bit off camera, but we're dealing with customers nationwide, sometimes worldwide, and even gaining that trust from somebody that's in Denver, Colorado, and we're 1,000 miles away, I think it's hard initially, especially from, a start of the relationship. And like you said, over years or over, a certain amount of years, you build that. And I think, within a matter of, hell, we say seconds, sometimes it's a little bit longer than that, where, they end up losing trust in us and we lose the business and we lose a potential client. What are some things that you've seen from brokers, from other salespeople, other companies that they've done to cut some of those corners?
There's a lot of things, and I think what it boils down to is it's often overused, but you have to have integrity. Yeah. We talk about it all the time, but a lot of times you have to choose the harder right over the easier wrong. Yeah, always. Even if it means you're taking on the chin. Yeah. But, I would say what's most common is, brokers will get themselves in a situation, and they'll shove the shovel into the ground and dig, and they'll start digging, and then they'll just keep digging, as opposed to just being upfront, taking responsibility and say, hey, I screwed up. Yeah. Whether a carrier burns you and now you're dealing with the issue, or you truly made a mistake, be honest and upfront about that. Right. Like, I can't tell you how many times we've been in situations where we were just upfront about it, and like, hey, we screwed up, we made a mistake here. Yeah. I probably shouldn't say how many times, but it happens. It
does happen. They're machines. Yeah, they break down, man.
You make mistakes and you're upfront about it immediately. Yeah. And what happens? The client thanks you. Yeah. Especially when you bring a solution to them. So yeah, I would say have integrity. Don't mislead them and be upfront about issues. Yeah. Do you have any examples, Brian, of misleading a client or shoving that shovel into the ground? Yeah. Tell us more there.
No, so I think one thing I was going to mention was this is a scenario in our industry that I see it all the time. Not anymore today because we are perfect and nothing ever goes wrong.
Yeah, we don't make mistakes either.
Zero mistakes. But it's a shipment that picks up on a Tuesday, delivers on a Friday, and the driver picks up, and then he has a breakdown on Wednesday. And the broker, the salesperson, fails to tell that client of the breakdown. Oh, no problem. We'll get it fixed. It's no problem. He finds out at 10 a.m. on Wednesday. The load is due Friday morning at, we'll call it Atlanta, Georgia. He does not tell that customer. Now at 3 o'clock, that truck's not fixed. And he might have forgot. He might have, not told the customer, not maybe maliciously or hiding information, but he just forgets. Now it comes Thursday morning. The driver's 1,500 miles out. There's no way in hell he's going to make it on Friday morning. And the customer comes back and they say, hey, when'd you find out? Oh, I found out at 10 a.m. Wednesday. Now, like, to me, that trust or that communication is lost from, the broker to the client. So I see that happen all the time. And I think the advice that I can see after, 15 years in the industry is if something happens, shoot off an email. Hell, it takes, 5 seconds. It doesn't have to be long or elaborate or, go into, I don't know, half the stuff that happens with these drivers. They're talking about turbos and sensors, and I don't know.
Leaks. There's leaks everywhere.
Yeah. Air leaks in a trailer. I don't really know. I mean, I've heard, I've learned more over the years, but I'm essentially we're communication specialists where we're communicating that information from the driver to the client, letting them know of a situation. I always try to relate it like this, and some salespeople don't truly get this, but it's like if you're expecting an Amazon package to get there on Friday and you need this product for the weekend, right? Maybe it's we'll say we're right in the middle of this as parents, but a kid needs shin guards for his game on Saturday, right? And now if I order them from Amazon and I'm expecting them to be there Friday for the game at 9 a.m. Saturday, and then all of a sudden on Friday morning at 6 a.m. I get a note from Amazon saying, hey, we can't deliver it. Now I'm pissed off. He's got a game at 9. I got no shin guards. The local Dick's Sporting Goods isn't open. I can't even go anywhere. I got to, go down the street and ask a neighbor or something, right?
Yep.
So if you would have known on Wednesday that the shipment was going to be delayed, okay, now I can go to Dick's and I can probably cancel this order or like return it whenever I get it. So I think even, looking at it from that perspective, from a consumer side of it, knowing on the front end is a huge thing. So I feel like, as far as the trust and the communication piece, what are some scenarios you've seen that are, pretty common?
Yeah, I want to get back to like building that trust too. When it's just that you have that consistent, proactive communication and execution where they know, hey, if Brian's taking care of this, it's done. It's off my plate. Yeah. He will communicate. There's issues, but other than that, that thing is gonna, it's gonna be there on time.
Yeah.
You do that so many times, they know what to expect.
Yeah.
But then you throw them these curveballs where it's like it makes them question. Mm-hmm. And what I'm getting to is, let's say they're in a tight spot and you've bailed them out before in the past, but this time it makes them like kind of turn their head a little bit, where they feel like you're taking advantage of a situation.
Sure.
And I've seen this too. And we're in sales. I'm not going to say you should always get paid your worth, especially if you're working after hours or holiday or 3 a.m, whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. But there's a difference between getting paid like a fair amount and taking advantage of a situation.
Yeah. And
too often than not, brokers will take advantage of a situation and quickly lose trust. So I'll give you an example.
Yeah, I was going to say, dig in there a little bit more, man. Like what?
Yeah, and this, I'll give you a recent example. We had a client very close with him, gives me a call on my way home. It's 5:30, got 3 kids, wife at home, and I'm like, hey, Mr. Klein, I'm heading home. Let me jump on. Give me a few minutes. I'll try to get our team on it, but I'll call you right back regardless.
Yeah.
They had a fallout. They had to get this, transfer out and delivered because it's, Friday at 5:30.
Sure.
So I get home. We ended up finding a truck to bail out this other carrier that fell out.
Yeah.
And let's say the truck was at $5,000.
Okay.
And I say,
you mean like price to the customer?
So like if I'm going to pay that driver $5,000, and this is a Friday at 5:30.
Sure.
Market rate, let's say, is $45,000.
Okay.
And I go back to Mr. Client. I said, Mr. Client, I got a truck here for $7,000. I'll go ahead and send him in if that's good for you.
Yeah.
And now I'm charging him, $2,500 or $2,000 over truck rate.
Markup.
Like, they're a really good client. We have a great relationship with them.
Yeah.
Do I really need for 10 minutes of my time, 15 minutes of my time, do I really need to throw a $2,500 margin or $2,000 margin on this?
Sure.
When I just worked for 15 minutes and my team did half the work.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm not trying to burn them and put them in a spot where, now his boss is like, why did you pay Veritas that much money? Like, that's how you lose trust, and that's taking advantage of the situation.
Sure.
But a lot of times I'll say, hey, like I'll send them an email or a screenshot and I'll say, hey, Mr. Client, like the truck is expensive.
Right.
He's at this. What I would typically charge for this situation is $800 to $1,000.
Sure.
Does that work for you?
Yep.
And can you do $750? Yeah, I'll do $750 for you.
Perfect.
But like I'm building that trust and not taking advantage of the situation because I care about their needs and I want to make sure I get that taken care of.
You nailed it, man. I think that's where a lot of folks fail and a lot of folks like lose that trust, right? Where, that's on today's episode, that's what we're talking about is how do you lose that trust with a client? Cutting corners, taking advantage of situations, 5:30 on a Friday. Yes, it's after hours, but at the same time, this client has been so valuable to yourself and the company. You want to build that long-term partnership, just like any relationship out there. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's also on the carrier side too. You have a reputation. You don't want that to become part of your culture.
Yeah.
And we've seen that. We've seen that before. Our early years at TQL, we battled that reputation where every carrier thought we were screwing them over.
Right.
Every shipper just was like, "Oh God, I recognize that number."
Uh-huh.
And we worked, when we were there to overcome that reputation, and they did a good job with that. But you don't want that to be part of your reputation, where it's like, "Hey, Veritas is going to take advantage of you,"
Sure.
or Veritas is going to burn you. They're not going to pay any detention, layover.
Right,
they don't give a shit about carriers. Same on the shipper side. Like, word gets around. This industry is well connected.
Yeah.
If you start getting the reputation where you're kind of sleazy and you're gonna cut corners, take advantage, lie, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, good luck closing business from that point.
Are there other ways that we can think of from a trust perspective in logistics with a client-facing side of it that aren't commonly talked about?
Yeah, Brian, I would say, like, at the end of the day, if you're looking to place blame on someone else, you're already in the wrong mindset.
Yeah.
One of your favorite books is Jocko's book, Extreme Ownership. And it says a lot about you because you live this same lifestyle, but you're always the one that's willing to take responsibility for anyone else's actions.
Yeah. I tell you what, man, I don't know if I fully have that mastered yet, but I think it was hard early, man. When I read that book, I'm like, what? Like, no, hold on. That's not my fault. Yeah. But like reading it and trying to like fully subscribe to that. And I feel like you're very similar where it's like, okay, well, I'll take the heat for this and let's figure out a solution.
Yeah. And real example from this past week, we had a couple billing issues where some shipments were routed incorrectly.
Yeah.
Going to Oregon, and they're supposed to go to California. Okay. And before we were able to adjust anything in the shipments, their invoice. And this is a high volume account, but we didn't catch it. And we were up front. We said, hey, these are issues.
Sure.
Once they got invoiced, we're like, hey, disregard these. We're working on it. But we had a couple of discrepancies with a newer client, a high volume client, and so at the end of the day, it's not our team's fault. It was my fault.
Sure.
So talking to the main point of contact, it's the conversation is just, hey, these are the mistakes and here's why they happen.
Yeah.
And he wanted to have a conversation about why these things happen.
Yeah.
And I was very transparent about it.
Yeah.
It's my responsibility to make sure our team has the tools and the capabilities to make sure these things don't happen.
Right.
And it's our responsibility to make sure that these things aren't getting invoiced and they're being audited and there's a number of checks and balances in place. So it's not our team. It's not accounting.
Yeah.
It's not the computer's fault. It's my fault in that
Sure.
situation because I was responsible for our team.
Yeah, I love that approach. I also think like when we talk about mistakes or ways to lose trust with a client, we haven't talked about this in a while, but invoicing properly.
Yep.
There are so many clients out there that we've heard that say, you know what, we cut out, XYZ broker due to the fact they couldn't bill us correctly. And it's so important in our industry because you do see misbillings, or you do see, if you agree to a rate with a client for, we'll call it $5,000, and then you bill $5,150, well, that's an issue. We're overbilling that client. Automatically, that's going to lose trust.
Yep.
Same thing goes if I, agree to the person that cuts my lawn, which like I love cutting my lawn, and it was like a big decision in my life like 3 years ago to outsource that.
I'll never give it up.
I got that push mower. I lost a hubcap. I had to give it up a couple years ago, and
Tough decision.
I know. I've been thinking about getting like a rider the last anyway. But even the situation, if I outsource my lawn for this company to mow my lawn, and we agree on a rate of $50 per cut, and then they invoice me $75, I'm losing trust automatically, man. I'm hold on a second. Hey, man, you said $50. We had the agreement in my driveway. And we signed the agreement, or you said it in an email. And then all of a sudden they bill me $75. Like that to me is like the ultimate way to lose trust, especially for a client on the financials or the numbers part.
Absolutely. I'm with you there. And we see it, very often with, we hear from prospects and clients, I get nickel and dime all the time. And it's, we sell against that. Hey, if we quote you this, that's what's going to be on your invoice.
Sure.
Besides when we over invoice on 4 shipments.
4 shipments.
Yeah. But a quick recap, biggest ways to lose trust: failure to take responsibility. What do you got?
Doing what you say you're going to do. Hey, I'm going to do, these things 1, 2, and 3. Make sure that you do those as a salesperson, as a sales leader. Also, taking extreme ownership and not placing blame on other people. I think those are huge factors to building that trust over time. And I think it's, trust in anything, any relationship out there, it's built over time and can be lost in seconds.
On our next episode, we're going to talk about, a situation that we're currently in that may be pretty costly, may lose a little bit of trust, but we're going to navigate it and we're going to share that story with you.
The customer more than likely is going to come to us at some point and say, where's our payment for this lost shipment? It's 40 grand in value or 40 grand in product that was lost and, over the edge of a mountain. What do you think we should do then, man?